My journal. I'm Steffanie Rivers. Come on into the conversation. You're watching my video version of my journal. I am multicasting on several platforms. You might be watching on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or YouTube. Either way you're watching, we're glad you're here. And if this is your first time joining us, we want to say welcome. And if you are returning, welcome back. I have a lot of new subscribers. The channel is growing, so we want to thank you guys for your support. And I know you're gonna like something that you are that's in our discussion. So I'm gonna ask you to like, share, and subscribe so that when I post new videos, you'll be the first to know. There has been a lot of conversation about this video that's going around talking about child support. And so I thought, why don't I, instead of talking about some of my usual topics, why don't I talk about this, because it was something that I also was very interested in. And so I thought, well, and then there was another video, so I'll try to show you that video as well. But first, we're going to focus on this video. So again, you're watching me. I'm Steffanie, and this is my video journal. Now, when it comes to having a satisfying personal life, most people say they want to be happily married. That is including men and women. They say they want to be happily married, but it's a long way between wanting something and doing whatever it takes to make it happen. So that's why nearly half of all marriages end in divorce or separation. And because there are a lot of people out there who get married and just get separated but never get divorced. That's a whole nother conversation. But I was married for 10 years and I got divorced. And so I know that good people can get divorced. So it's not about whether you're a bad person or not, just things happen. And if you don't, if you're not, I guess, committed enough, or if you don't just work through it, or just say I'm going to stay here no matter what, then you end up getting separated and or divorced. Now, ideally, two people, when they find each other when they're young. You have big dreams together. You have no debt, and you come together and you build your team, and you say, we're gonna do something big, we're gonna make this happen. But when you add to that pre-existing conditions, some people call it baggage, it can be a struggle for two people to come together. No offense to nobody, but it could be pre-existing debt, whether that's what you call good debt, student loans, or you got a house already, or whether it's just bad debt, credit card debt, or whatever you got going on in your life. It could be bad credit. It could be drugs. It could be alcohol abuse. It could be a criminal record. It could be children born from a previous relationship. Those are the things that cause friction in a relationship. And some people are waiting longer to get married, and then they end up getting with someone who did not necessarily wait to do some things. They just went ahead and did it, whether it was marriage, whether it was have kids. And so now they find themselves matched up with somebody who might have some of those pre-existing conditions. And where there are children, there is bound to be baby mamas and baby daddy drama. Okay, now not all drama comes with having babies from previous relationships, but most of the time it does. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So when I saw the video the other day where a married couple, they were arguing over whether the father should have to pay child support and pay for shoes for the child, or if the shoes should be bought out of the child support money. I had to talk about it. This video is about 3 minutes long, and but there's a lot that can be discussed based on these 3 minutes. So I'm going to show you this video, and I'm sharing it under the Copyright Act of 1976, which says that for the purpose that I can show you things in the public domain for the purpose of educating and critiquing and discussion. So we're going to be educating, critiquing, and discussing this video. And that is what our subject is today: child support drama. So even if you've seen this video already, I'm going to show it to you again. So stay tuned.
This is the shit I got to go through. It's like I got to choose between my child and my marriage. And the shit getting old. It's getting very old and frustrating.
Between your child and your marriage, what is you doing? I mean, like, what's going on?
I'm recording, man.
No, I ain't no recording because you ain't dropping that shit. I don't give a damn about no Facebook, no YouTube, or nothing. No. And I don't care nothing about that. Because my thing is right here, you pay $500 a month. You can drop it. I'm going to put your business out there. You pay $500 fucking dollars a month in child support, and ain't nobody been doing no extra. No shoes, no clothes, no toys, no nothing. Fuck all that.
What you talking about, man? My son needs some shoes.
I don't give a damn. No, she can get the shoes out of child support money. She get the shoes out of child support money. That's what you pay child support for. The court ordered child support. You ain't got to do shit else. And she ain't gifted nothing else. She should have never took the fucking child support out if she needed more money.
You shouldn't feel like that, man.
Why should I feel like that?
That's my fucking child.
I don't fuck that child. Fuck you too. I don't give a damn about that. Shoes. Come on, to get some extra shoes and you pay $500 fucking dollars a month in child support. You ain't buying no shoes. You ain't buying no fucking shoes. You buy shoes. You buy them shoes. You buy them shoes. That's it. That's it. I'm kidding you. You pay child support. What you paying the child support is for?
I'm saying, still though. If you need some shoes, I'm gonna get the shoes.
No, you ain't getting no shoes out here. You ain't. It don't matter. It does not matter. No, you ain't buy no shoes. She get the shoes out of child support money. $500 a month. That's what y'all agreed on.
I know, but shit,
Okay.
I agreed on the hell. If I feel like giving me some shoes, I can get some shoes.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Fuck this shit. Fuck this shit. You wanna get some shoes? You can get some shoes, but it won't be in here. It won't be in here. You need that, baby. It won't be in here.
If you in a situation, you want me to get you some shoes? What the fuck is you doing?
Get your ass up out of here. I'm getting your ass up out of here. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting your ass. You want to buy some shoes? You want to buy some shoes? It won't be in here. I'm getting you up out of here. Getting you up out of here.
Playing, man.
No,
Oh, what's that, man? What the fuck you
No,
about to
ain't no put up. No, you want to get shoes? You want to get shoes?
Really? Man, this is bullshit.
Oh no, we getting your ass up out of here. Yeah, we getting you up out of here. Fuck that. You won't get no shoes in here? You can get some shoes, but it won't be in here. It won't. It just watch.
Don't take my clothes, I'm gonna be gone. I'm about to pay with you.
Look here.
You ain't tripping over some fucking shoes, man? Over some shoes.
Yeah, that's right.
That's bullshit.
Ain't no bullshit. Fuck you,
Bullshit.
the child, and the mama. Fuck all y'all. And guess what? You want to get shoes, you buy them. Matter of fact, why her husband can't buy him no shoes?
That ain't his fucking responsibility.
It is his responsibility. He married. If he married her, he take on the child too. Why he can't buy him no shoes? That's what I don't understand. He probably calling him daddy anyway.
All right, so that's the video, and I know that that was first I want to invite you to live chat with me. I just put the link in the chat so you can come on in and use your fingers and chat, or if you want to go live with me on camera, hopefully you can use that link to do that as well. You're watching my journal, so be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that when I post new videos, you will be the first to know. So let's start with this. If you pay child support and still are expected to pay for items on top of the child support, you and this dude have a lot in common. So how do you feel about that? Do you receive child support and expect more money on top of that amount? If you do, then you and this dude's baby mama think alike. And I invite you to call in now or chat with me now and give your opinion on all the above. So let's start with a few facts. As far as the amount of money that it takes to raise a child. It takes a lot of money. Now, experts say it takes around $200,000 over the course of a child's birth, from birth to high school graduation. And you know, when you're a parent, being a parent doesn't stop when a person graduates from high school. So you really pay a whole lot more money. But let's just say from birth to graduation, you're actually paying, according to experts, and if you're a parent, you know better, let me know. You pay around $200,000 it costs to raise a child from birth to high school graduation. What is that money entailing? That includes clothes, because they're always needing clothes. They need shoes because their feet are growing. If they're going to a certain type of school, they are needing uniforms. Of course, they need food every day, 3, 4, 5, 10 times a day, depending on how often they eat. They have educational needs, so you might need to buy supplies, or you might have, especially if you homeschool them, or based on what type of school they go to, there's educational needs. Or you might just feel like you want to give your child more than the minimum and you're buying extra things, or you got them a laptop, you got them certain things that go along for educational needs. There's travel, there's family vacations, there's all types of things like that. There's medical, because kids fall and hurt themselves all the time. Even, I know most kids these days sit in the house and, play video games, but then there's the electronics. You got to pay for that. But when they're younger, they're jumping off of stuff, they rolling up under stuff, they falling on stuff, they just doing all type of movements that cause them to fall and need medical attention. So they get sick, they got the mumps, they had chicken pox, they got all these things going on with kids. So when you add all that up between birth and high school graduation, you can see how it is probably likely that you're going to spend close to $250,000 trying to raise a child from birth to high school graduation. So this dude is okay with having to pay $500 a month, because that's what the video was telling us. He's remarried and he feels like he is having to decide, he's having to choose between his current marriage and his child because of the arguments that he and his current wife are getting in over how much money he needs to spend on his child. We don't know how old the child is, but we know the older a child gets, the more they want and the more they need, because they are getting bigger and they know what things, they might. Whereas a 4-year-old might sit on the couch and play with whatever you give them, a 14-year-old is going to be asking you for some stuff. So they're going to need more and it's going to cost more money. So there's that. And then this parent is paying $500 a month plus expenses in child support. And this guy in this video, he's okay with that, but his wife is not okay with that. Are you okay with that in your situation? Be sure to you can call in, or you can chat with me live, or you can just listen to me because I have a lot to say. So let's do the math on how much this guy in this video is paying for child support between birth and high school graduation. We're just assuming that he has been in the child's life and will be for that amount of time, financially supporting the child. So at $500 a month times 12 months, So that's 1 year. That's $6,000 a year that this father is already obligated to pay for the child. Now, times 18 years, because people graduate normally in 17 or 18, that's $108,000. So if this guy is willing to pay $108,000 over the course of his child's minor years, then I would say that's pretty much half of $200,000. So he's okay with doing his half. And so that's where we are with that. But should a parent pay child support plus other child care items? That is the question. And that is causing a lot of child support drama in a lot of families' lives, not just this one. They just decided to put it out there on social media for all the world to see. So we could get into how the amount of child support is determined. And just off the top of my head, I know it has to do with the amount of money that that person paying child support, what their income is. And it also has to do with, it varies from state to state, but we also know that it has to do with, in addition to the person's income that's paying child support, it also has to do with, is that person, does that person have the child on his or her medical insurance at work? Because if you have them on your medical insurance, that might mean that you might pay a little less because you're already paying out of your income for them to be on your medical insurance. Are you doing, something else? Are you paying dental? Are you paying? So whatever else that you are, that's included in your child support, that determines how much you are required to pay. So if people would think about the expenses involved with raising a child before they got pregnant, there would be a whole lot less babies, I know. And it will force them to make better decisions with their money and to realize that a portion of their income is going to be going to pay for this child, the financial support of this child. And even if what you're making already is not enough for you to live off of, the judge and the mama or the daddy, they don't care nothing about that. All they know is you helped create this baby and you're responsible for paying child support. And so I will say shout out to the person, before I get into this video, I'm gonna say shout out to the people who are taking care of their financial responsibilities when it comes to their child, whether or not you are the primary custodian of your child or you are paying child support. Parenthood is one of the hardest jobs in the world, and taking care of a child is it's not something that I would want to do alone. And I'm sure a lot of people don't want to do it alone, but circumstances might put you in that situation where you're doing it alone. And so if you're doing it, I commend you as well as others. And so having said that, we are about to move back into this video, but just understand this. Paying for a child's financial support is not all there is to it. There's a lot more to it. Just making sure that child is emotionally supported, spiritually, they're growing, and that they turn out to be a productive citizen. I was like perusing through the TV the other day, and I saw this show where, and I think it's called My 300-Pound Life, or maybe not. And I'm saying that because it seemed like all the people on the show were like overweight, like grotesquely, if I can use that word, grotesquely overweight. And the guy in the video was saying, I just can't really do for myself while he eating a candy bar. I just cannot do for myself. I got to move back home with my mama. Cause something. And then I was like, and so how is that your mama fault that you are a grown ass man and you like are 500 pounds, and because you have chosen this for your life, now you gonna go back home to your mama? And then I had to think, did your mama have something to do with you being 500 pounds and a grown ass man and you can't take care of yourself? Like, some things go back that far that manifest themselves as adults. And so that's a whole nother conversation, and that I don't have want to get into. But let's go to this video. So starting with this, I think that I think we all can agree that the words of this woman in the video are very harsh. She told her husband, F you, F your child, and F the mama. That's just straight up no chaser. Okay. She just said, this is how I'm feeling right now. So we can all agree that she was harsh, but we also can agree that she must have been doing some math before this video started, and she must have been feeling that way before this video started, and she was just letting him know how she felt, video or no video. Why? Because she has had this conversation with this guy, with her husband before. Now, I don't know them, never met them, still don't know them, but I'll be 55 years old in September. And so I done seen some things, and I've been through some things, and that video tells me that she's had this conversation with him before. And so that's why she was so vocal and so raw with what she's saying, because sometimes you feel like I've baby stepped, I've tiptoed around this for so long. I'm just going to tell you how I'm really feeling. And so that's what she did. The wife, the woman in the video, she's tired of having to explain her point. And the husband, the man in the video, I'm sure is tired of having to explain his point of view. So like he said in the video, he feels like he is having to choose between his child and his current marriage. And so some of you might say, well, the child always comes first. Your children come first. And while I agree that your children are your priority, your primary responsibility as a parent, if you are no longer living in that house and you're doing your part by paying $500 a month, and we're having a money conversation, the guy is doing his part by paying $500 a month. That's going to lead to, over 18 years, $108,000. So it's not that he's not prioritizing his child. The question becomes about more than that. It becomes a question of mindset, and how do you balance your life and the lives of your child? Because if that child is no longer in your house and you've chosen to get married to someone else, that's a responsibility. That's a priority as well. So how do you handle all this? Now, I think that the wife, the woman in the video, she starts off salty because she would rather her husband sit down with her and talk to her one-on-one about the issue. Instead, he turns on the video. Okay. And she's probably tried to talk to him about this before, and now he's going to social media instead of coming to her. And I think he needs to sit down with the women in his life, his child's mother, as well as his wife, not necessarily at the same time, because I don't think that would turn out to be too good. But he should sit down with them and explain to them how this is creating turmoil for him internally and how they can work on it. That's the first thing that I think is happening. But his wife is real salty at him because, one, he turned on the video and started talking to the world instead of talking to her. And two, he turns his back on her and starts playing a video game while she's trying to talk to him. Essentially, he's tuning her out. So when a woman is trying to express herself about something and her man turns his back and starts playing a remote control video game, that tells her that he's not listening to her, that he don't care what she's talking about. And that's why she gets so upset that she starts cursing him, the baby, and the baby mama. Okay, so not to say that I would do that, but that's to say that I understand why some people would do that. Remember, it takes more than $500 a month to raise a child, but it's also about his decision-making skills. And I think this woman is just fed up with, one, her decision to be with him, and two, his decision-making skills. So what do I mean when I talk about decision-making skills? Well, let's based on their apartment. And you know what? I've already I'm going to bring up the video again. I had already taken it down. So I'm going to share my screen again. And I'm going to go to the top. And I'm just going to click through. That's him talking. Okay, so let's start with this initial picture right here. Now, I, again, don't know these people, but based on this video, you can see some stuff. You know, when you look at a video, you just don't look at the person in the video. You look behind them and what's going on behind them surrounding the video. So it seems that, and I am assuming this, and let me know if you assume the same thing or if you think I'm totally off base, but how do I know that their money making decision skills are poor? Because based off the video, I see they have at least 2 flat screen TVs, and there's a third TV on the dresser. So let's go. That's 1 flat screen, and I'm trying to zip through this thing right here. Okay, that's a second flat screen. So they have it at least 2 flat screen TVs in what appears to be an apartment. And so I don't think y'all, if when you look at the price of a flat screen TV, that costs around $100 and something, and that's a cheap one, okay? And if you got what's it called? A smart TV and all that, it's gonna cost you about $300-400, and that's at least. So they got at least $400 in flat screen TVs on the walls, and they don't really have that much room. That shows their priorities in watching TV, and maybe they shouldn't be watching that much TV, especially if they don't have that much money, and $500 a month means that much to them. Maybe they might need to sell a TV, or maybe they might need to do something with those TVs that makes them money. So that's what I'm seeing, that their money making decisions are not that elevated, because they got too many TVs, and it seemed like they got a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment. You don't need that many TVs in a 1-2-bedroom apartment. Okay, so that's one thing. That's $400 right there. They have a PlayStation video game, or at least he does. That's between $400 and $700. I looked it up already. Okay. A PlayStation 4 is between $400 and $700. A PlayStation 5, I think they own 5 now. That could be anywhere, let's say at least $500. That's another child support payment right there. So instead of figuring out how to make extra money or spending time that he would spend playing those video games, he could be trying to do some work. He could be doing something like Uber driving, getting a drone license, and trying to make some money. Do something else besides sit around and play video games. So your wife won't have to complain about you needing to buy shoes for your child. Because if $500 wasn't gonna make or break y'all, then she wouldn't be worrying about you spending another $50, let's say, on some shoes. Okay, so that's really how that works. And so I would suggest that's one of the reasons why I think it's about the money, but it's about more than the $500. It's about the mindset of how their decisions have pushed them into a corner. Okay. So now let's look at something else in this video. There's a fish tank. You see that fish tank right there? That's empty. It looks empty. Okay. and it's sitting up on a platform. So basically it's more than a fish tank. That's an aquarium, y'all. That's an aquarium. um Hey, Bobby Worthy, thanks for dropping in. I'm talking about child support drama. So if you want to come on in and talk about what you know about child support drama, use that link above and come on in and talk about it. So we're really talking about child support drama and the decisions that lead to the drama. Because if you don't have enough money, then that child support payment and that child support payment is more than you feel like you need to do, or more than you can handle, then that's where you're backed in a corner. And every time the mother of the child or the child asks you for something more than those shoes, then that might become a problem, because you're like, oh, I'm already giving you $500. Why can't you get it out of there? And you know what? That leads me to this. Maybe the child, the husband's child was the person to ask him for the money for shoes. And maybe how are you going to tell your child, you know what, I already gave you mama $500. You need to get that out of there. You don't want to come across like that. So if I was a parent, I wouldn't want to come across like that. You might have to handle that diplomatically and say, you know what, he just asked me for some shoes. I'm gonna need you to take that out of the $500 that I've already given you, or your child support check next month is going to be less the amount of money that I had to spend on these shoes. Something like that is, how you might be able to handle that. So we're talking about this fish tank, this empty fish tank that's really an aquarium. I looked it up. The cost of an aquarium is $2,500, or it can be. And of course, you got to maintain that aquarium. That means cleaning it. That means making sure all the oxygen little tank thing that I used to have an aquarium a long time ago. And I can't remember exactly all the terminology, but I do know it costs some money to maintain it, because you have to clean it at least. So that's taking all the little sand and the pebbles out and cleaning the glass. And you got to put the fish somewhere while you're doing that. You got to put it back. You got to make sure the pH balance is right for the fish. And that's why I don't have pets, even though I like pets. Hell, I might as well have a baby for all the stuff you got to do for a dog these days. Got to walk them and make sure you got to pick up the boo-boo after them and all of that. I don't have time for that. I might as well be a parent. And so no offense to, kids, because I used to be one, love kids. Just don't have none, don't have no pets, none of that. So at any rate, they have spent some money on this aquarium and it's empty, which means they can't afford to keep it up. And so they made the decision to buy this, not realizing the upkeep that is going to be required for keeping up this fish tank. Okay, now let's go to this. You see this chair that this dude, let me move this caption out of the way. You see this chair this dude is sitting in, and I guess that is not really blocking it. This chair that he's sitting in front of the flat screen TV, that's the type of chair that you would take to an outdoor festival, like a music festival. Well, my mother and I, when we go to like the Jazz Fest, and I take that chair in a little carrying case and I put it across my shoulder, and it's so heavy that I get that strap mark on my shoulder, because I don't want my mother to carry it, but I want my mother, when we do find our spot in front of the stage, I want her to be comfortable and not have to just put a blanket on the ground, and for her to sit on the ground, I want her to be able to sit in the chair. That's the type of chair that he has. That's the type of chair that you take to the gun range in between firing at the different targets. You chill with your bottle of water and you sit back and talk to the other people at the gun range. That is not a chair that you put in your living room. The fact that he has a chair like that in his living room tells me they have little to no furniture. Okay, so they need to sell that fish tank. They need to sell that one of those flat screen TVs, and go get you some furniture, even if it's off of Craigslist. Okay, get you some furniture for your apartment. Okay, now let's go to the bedroom. I'm going to go to this video and we're going to go to the bedroom. So he playing the game. We already said he done spent money on the PlayStation. He playing that, waiting for it to load up. We see the fish tank empty. Now we're in the bedroom. And there's the other flat screen TV. Now, this is their bedroom, and they have a weight bench at the foot of the bed. Okay, y'all. I don't know about y'all, but I like to work out, but having a weight bench at the foot of my bed, that just seems like they don't have no space. And the weight bench is in front of the closet. So they are trying to squeeze all of these things into somewhere where they actually don't have room for it. So we would assume that is his weight bench, but somebody said online, the way she cursing at him, it might be her weight bench. So she might be the boss. The way she bossing his ass around, she might be the one lifting weights. So not only is it dangerous to have weights sitting on a weight bench like that, all it takes is for you to accidentally hit it, and now the weights have fallen and they might fall on your foot or something. And it's in the bedroom. And it's in front of the closet. So they have little to no room for the items that they have said that they need, that they want. Either way, the fact is there's a weight bench in their bedroom, and that means they don't have space for it somewhere else. Okay. I would assume if they had a garage, or if they had a den, or if they had, I don't know, a workout room, then they would have put the weight bench there, but they don't have none of that. They don't have any space. Okay. Now it looks to me like it might be a 1-bedroom apartment and maybe a 2-bedroom apartment. They also have a dog. Now you might not have noticed the dog, but when she starts talking to her husband, there's this little dog face that comes up. I'm gonna play this right fast.
Ain't buying no fucking shoes.
Okay, right there, you see that little dog that came out?
You buy the shoe, you buy
Right
the shoes.
where, okay, and you saw the little dog leave. Okay, the dog even said, "What are y'all talking about now? What y'all arguing about now?" The dog was like, okay, more child support drama, because the dog has heard it before. So they have too much going on. They got a dog, and pets, like I just said, pets, whether it's a fish in a tank or it's a dog on a leash, you got some maintenance requirements for that. So you got 2 flat screen TVs in a 1 or 2-bedroom apartment. You got a PlayStation. All these things say that if they are arguing over $500 a month plus a pair of tennis shoes, that tells me that they don't have the extra money, but they got the extra money. They just spend it on some other stuff. And so not only do these things have maintenance, a woman has maintenance. When, fellas, answer me this. When you look at a woman and you're like, oh, she looks so beautiful, do you say to yourself, you know what? It's going to be hard to maintain that, because you might look at if she has weave, or if she has her hair fixed nicely, if she's wearing jewelry, how she dressed. All these things should say to you that there's going to be some maintenance, a maintenance fee involved. That's like when you move into a condo, it's an HOA, it's a maintenance fee involved. When you're looking at cars to purchase, there's some maintenance. You got to put gas and oil, you got to keep it up, rotate the tires, you got to do all of that. So even when you are in a relationship with a woman, there's a maintenance fee. Even when you have, especially when you have children, there's a maintenance fee. It's more to it than just food, clothing, and shelter. There's a maintenance fee. And I don't think these people ask themselves that, but I do know the woman in this video, she's asking herself, you mean to tell me that this is what I signed up for? And after telling her point of view to her husband for so many times, she is just fed up with there not being enough money But at some point, they decided to spend the money that they had and fill that small space with all these different things. And I ain't trying to throw shade at nobody. I'm just pointing out what the visuals are telling me. His wife is really saying, you telling me I can't do no better than this 1-bedroom apartment, but you got $500 a month in child support for your child, plus now you want to tell me that you now want to spend more money on this child. And so I understand how she feels. And there was a video that I wanted to show you that visualizes how this woman feels, but I can't find it right now. Anyway, it's like running into a wall over and over again, trying to explain to someone why you feel a certain way or why they shouldn't do things a certain way, because apparently it's out of their budget for them to be considering paying more money. But of course the guy's like, well, it's my child and I need to, if my child wants some shoes, I'm going to buy my child some shoes. And so there's no telling what he has told her no to, because he's told her we don't have the money, but he's willing to pay $500 child support plus for his child. And so that's where the conversation is now. And that's why this woman is feeling that way. So their conversation also reveals that the baby mama is married. And so the child lives in a 2-parent household, and let's say probably 2-parent income household, and gets even if it's a 1-parent, even if it's a 1-income household, there's an income over there plus his $500 a month, and now they want for him to pay for shoes. So this woman, the wife in the video, she asks a legitimate question. Her question is, why can't the stepdaddy buy the shoes if he needs extra? Why can't they pay for the shoes out of the $500? Either one, either pay for the shoes out of the $500 that they already getting over there at the other house, or let the stepdaddy buy the shoes. Because when the stepfather married the mother, isn't it true that the parent agrees to bring, it's like a package deal, and that's what they call it, a package deal. When you want the mom or you want the dad, you automatically they come in with the baby if you knew they had children, and that's just a part of accepting them as they are. The pre-existing condition is, I have a child, and my child is going to be a part of my life. And so if you want to be a part of my life, then that means you need to be accepting my child. That's a legitimate question. So a friend of mine talked to me about, and he's a guy, he talked to me about how he chooses who he dates. And one of those things is when he meets a woman, because when he met me, in full disclosure, we dated briefly. And he said one of the things, and I was there. So one of the things he asked me when we first met, within like the first 5 minutes, was, how many kids you got? And I said, I don't have any children. He was like, oh no, you don't have kids? And I was like, yeah, but I like kids. He was like, oh no, that's okay. So later on, when we got to talking about that exchange, he said that he asks the women who he is about to considering dating or considering being involved with, whether they have kids, how many kids they have, and how old the children are, because he realizes that if there are minor children, there's going to be some minor children expenses that eventually might come his way, and he needs to know what he might be in store for. That's one thing. And he was like, they don't even have to be underage for that to be an issue, because he knows plenty of people, and you know this as well. Give me some feedback on this. Have you met anybody, or are you the person who has grown children and they continually call you and ask you for financial assistance? And we're not talking about a one time, I'm about to buy a house and I need help with the down payment. I'm talking about every other week you turn around right before it's your payday and they calling you, telling you how they need help. Does that happen? He says that happens more often than you would think and more often than it should. And so he needs to know, do you have kids? One, if he's thinking of dating you, he needs to know how many kids do you have, and he needs to know how old they are. And then he needs to find out what's the relationship between you and your children and or grandchildren, because he's seen it whereby even if it's the grandmother that he's thinking of dating because he's older, so the people he might date might be grandparents, might be parents, might have no kids like me. He said that there have been times where, based on how you raise those children, you might find yourself still having to support them in their adult lives. You might be the grandparent, and because you didn't raise your kids right, now you got your kids in your pocket still, and you got your grandkids in your pocket still. So that is also a determining factor for a lot of men and women, because some men are single parents. Like, what type of relationship am I getting involved with? Because it's not just how I feel about you, it's also what the relationship is between you and even your children and your grandchildren. So I agree that a parent should pay child support for his or her child, whether or not they live with them. But it's more of a responsibility than just the money. It's how you're raising them, what's your relationship to them. Because if you half-ass raise a child, trust, it's going to come back on you one way or another. They're going to be back at your doorstep one way or another. And we always want to think that our parents are always there for us, regardless, because that just gives you some sort of peace of mind to know somebody in this world got your back. But that doesn't mean you always have to be showing up at that person's door asking for help. That is just overstepping your familial boundaries for you to think your mama and or your daddy or your grandparents, all they got to do is share their money with you. That's just not how it should work. And so that is why you need to make sure you raise people right the first time. So supporting your child is more than about the money. It's how you raise them to be a productive citizen, regardless of if they live with you or they don't live with you. And so this whole conversation is about this couple and their fight. Is why I don't date men who have minor children. It's just one of those things that I've decided that I do not do. And of course, like most of us in life, I had to learn the hard way. Essentially, I was dating this guy. He had 3 children with his ex-wife, and every time there was something that needed to be paid for, and that's not to say there was always something that needed to be paid for, which there is, whether it's groceries or whether it's the light bill. I mean, if you like watching TV, them flat screen TVs need to be hooked up to some electricity, okay? So not that it was always about that, but it seemed like he never really had the financial freedom to do anything. And his excuse was, I got to pay my child support. And I am a supporter and proponent of paying for your children, paying child support. My mother never got child support from my father, and I turned out okay, thank God. At least I think so, and she says it, and a few other people say it. But my point is that I supported this guy, the guy I was dating, in paying his child support by not being so hard on him when he said, I don't have the money and because I got to pay child support. And I'm like, cool, I get that. And when he would travel to see his children and stay in their lives, I supported that because I, being a child of a single mother who did not get child support, I totally understand how frustrating it can be to have to raise a child on your own with little to no support from anyone. And so I was cool with that until I found out that he was still sleeping with his ex-wife. And he said in the end, he ended up telling me because he didn't want her to date anyone and for his children to call them dad, or for he didn't want his kids to be around any other men. And I totally get that, but to lie to me and have me paying things that we as a couple should have been paying together so you can be down there sleeping with your slanging D with your ex-wife to keep control of what's going on in her household, that's just not something that I agree with and wasn't gonna put up with, and that's why we broke up basically. But now that's one of my pet peeves is I would not be dating nobody who has underage children, because your time should be spent helping to raise your child, and then of course you have to work, and then you've got your own personal time. So if you spend the time with yourself, with your own with your job and with your kids, you don't really have that much time left to be spending it to build anything else. One. Number two, your money is the same way. If you based on how much money you make, you don't really have a lot of extra money to be spending on building a relationship and building a life with someone else. So what are we doing here? It's more than about the money, but the bottom line is it takes money to do pretty much any dang thing. Even if you just want to sit at home, you got to pay the rent, you got to pay electricity bill. If you want cable, you got to pay for that. If you don't like to go out because it costs so much, you got to buy some groceries. So there's things that need to be paid for, and if every time something needs to be paid for, you tell me you ain't got no money, then why are you over here with me? You need to be over there with your kids where your money is. Okay. And so that's why I have chosen to not date people who have underage kids, because the guy, in my opinion, is probably sleeping with the woman anyway, because he's mad because he got to pay so much money. And so he's trying to get his child support payments back in booty. And so go on over that end, but don't come over here with me. So when it comes to paying child support, there are so many issues that can happen. And I, for one, don't want to be a part of it. Now, we have OG Tank in the chat. He says he pays $900 a month and splits custody, which is really, which in reality means that I have him most of the time. And I also carry my son on my insurance, and I buy most of his clothes, all his basketball expenses, as well as he coaches the team. And so that's $900 a month and split custody, and he's on your insurance, and you pay for his clothes. And you and of course children want to be a part of games, and you might think he might be on to something as far as his athletic ability, and you coach the team, and so that's a lot, and I commend you, OG Tank, for being that type of a dad to do all of that. And so, but the bottom line is, how do you feel about that? If you are spending that much money and you still have or partial custody, it's like, okay, how much does it actually take to raise a child? What am I paying for if he's half the time over here? So you might want to, and he might be okay with that. So I'm not going to tell him what he might want to do. Oh, okay. You said it's straight up extortion. He says it's straight up extortion. So what you could do is, you might want to ask your ex, or the mother of your child, since he's over here anyway, why don't I just let him stay over here with me, and we could reduce the child support. You might need, it just depends on how you can talk to people. Some people you can talk to them, and some people make you say, why was I ever interested in you? Because I can't talk to you about nothing. And so, when money and children are involved, it does become a struggle to communicate sometimes. But OG Tank, on Wednesday night, you might want to join us when we talk about, in Second Amendment Sis is another podcast that I co-host. We're going to be talking about the dilemma, the drama that comes along with coaching youth sports, and how parents show up to the games and they pretty much bring drama to the games. They're mad at you because you might be the coach and you didn't put their child in. They're mad at the referee because the referee called it bad, or you might be mad at the referee. So there's a lot going on. So on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central, we're going to have that conversation, because if you live in Texas and probably around the country, you heard the story about the coach in Lancaster, Texas, that's outside of in the DFW area, who was shot and killed at a youth football game by the brother of an ex-NFL player, and turned himself in, and he's charged with murder. And so we're going to be talking about that, the drama that comes along with that, and what needs to be done, because in a state like Texas, where they have concealed carry laws and open carry laws, now they're talking about trying to tell people you can't bring your weapon. They're trying to ban you from bringing weapons to the games. And, do you agree with that? Do you don't agree with that? So OG Tank, we might want to see you on that next show. But thanks for showing up and giving us your feedback on child support payments. And I know there's some good dads, and there's some, and I'll say dads because of what I'm about to say. I know there's some good parents out there, good dads out there who are taking care of their kids and their responsibility. But I just, that's just a lot to ask of a person like myself who has no kids. And I pretty much, have, when it was time for me to get divorced, I got divorced. I didn't hang around. I didn't, and so when I see people who are separated but they won't get a divorce, or when I see people who have kids and they, going back and forth with the mother about money, and she always calling, and she always this, that, and the third, and she always in your pocket for her and the baby, I just cannot do that anymore. I did it once and it didn't work out. And I know everybody ain't the same, but you live and you learn. So I appreciate the feedback. And what I want you to do is like, share, and subscribe, so that when I post new videos, you'll be the first to know. And to find out more about the things that I care about, you can go to the written version of my journal. It's at eurweb.com. And we'll see you guys Wednesday night for that special edition of Second Amendment Sis, where we talk about parents or adults bringing drama to youth sports games.